lovelies, what's up? How you are doing? Today we're going to be checking out something from Veracity. It's titled Jordan Peterson instantly owns woke feminist who tries to cancel him. So this is a very typical this is just something very typical from Jordan Peterson. People like Jordan Peterson, people like Charlie Kirk, Michael Knowles, Douglas Murray. Yeah, this is very typical of them. So we're going to be watching this kind of debate between him and this feminist, woke feminist. Make sure you watch to the end. Drop your thoughts on what you think about the video. Like, share, subscribe, turn on post notification bell. I'll drop my thoughts after this video, so make sure you watch to the end. And please watch my ads, okay? Let's watch this together.
Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
why
what I'm saying is, like,
I wonder why you have so much like hatred towards women.
I don't hate women.
Where does that root in? It
I don't
sounds
hate
like
women.
you do.
I am a woman.
So do women have opportunity? Do women have equality of opportunity than broadly across Western societies?
Compared to what?
Compared to not having equality of opportunity?
Well, compared to 100 years ago, yes. Compared to 50 years ago, yes. Compared to most places in the world throughout history, yes. Compared to a hypothetical ideal, no. But
would
I'm
that
very, very
hypothetical
leery.
ideal be a good ideal or a bad ideal?
Well, it depends on how you define equality. If you define it as equality of outcome, then it's a catastrophic ideal. See, this is something too. We know that the left can go too far, and we know that the right can go too far. I mean, I would say that's the abject lesson of the 20th century. Both can go too far. And we kind of know when the right goes too far. We probably think the right goes too far, if you had to boil it down to one thing, when people start making claims of racial or ethnic superiority. That seems to be the marker. But we don't know when the left goes too far. And the left, to be frank about it, isn't very careful about differentiating itself into those who are pursuing a reasonable progressive agenda and those who have seriously gone too far. And I would say that when people push an equality of outcome agenda, they've gone too far. Even though it's not as blatantly horrifying, let's say, as claims of ethnic or racial superiority, the consequences of playing that idea out in the world are seriously not good.
There may be lots of things that are wrong both on the left and on the right that don't involve the right being overtly racist and the left wanting absolute equality of outcome. It's a space surely in the middle that matters, and that's why I suppose people feel that sometimes your argument is almost sort of, it's driving towards picking the fight rather than liberalism would, I suppose, encourage you to take the best, and we can have the argument about what's the best and what's the worst of everything that's in between.
No,
I
think that the left poses a far greater danger than your analysis suggests. I certainly see this in the universities. And the drum is being beat very, very hard, perhaps not so much here, but in North America, for equality of opportunity or equality of outcome, under the rubric of equity. And equity is essentially a doctrine that fosters the notion that equality of outcome is not only desirable, but should be pursued as an object or as an explicit aspect of public policy. The idea being that if there isn't equivalent representation of all possible groups at all possible levels of all possible hierarchies, that indicates a tyrannical prejudice that needs to be rooted out. And that's having an absolutely pernicious effect on institutions, especially educational institutions in North America. It's an increasingly widespread view, and I think it poses far more danger than you think.
Is it possible that views become more attractive when something is dissatisfied and when aspirations have not been met, which are reasonable aspirations to have, and you can then say that the answers are wrong or that they distort.
Sometimes.
But so I suppose I'm trying to say, if this is such a popular view, to cite your example on campuses in North America, it may be that there's something out there that existing society has not satisfied.
What hasn't satisfied the ever-present human tendency towards envy and resentment, that's for sure.
So that's all that's driving it?
Not all, but it's a tremendous amount of what's driving it. And an absolute lack of gratitude for what we've managed to accomplish and what we have in front of us. The idea of the gender pay gap it's so poorly formulated that it's almost staggering to me that people can even conceptualize it in this manner. It's not a univariate problem. It's a multivariate problem. Men and women don't make the same amount of money. So we can break it down
and then we can go through
No, not only could we have to. And we can't assume that just because in all situations women don't make as much money as men, although there are some situations in which the reverse is true, by the way, that the reason for that is prejudice and oppression. There's many reasons for it. One of them is that men are much more likely to take dangerous occupations.
how far gender is socially constructed.
Well, okay, so the first thing to do is to figure out what the parameters are when you talk about something like gender. So the parameters are, say, parameters of temperament. We know that they differ between men and women, and they differ cross-culturally. But more importantly, this is the crucial distinction.
Well, we don't know, because, I'm just looking at a piece of recent research on the brain, which concludes there are not two types of brain, and there are other researchers.
Who did the research?
It's the New Scientist. Scans prove there's no such thing as the male or female brain, just so you know what you're dealing with.
Nobody who has any sense would ever claim that there was a male and female brain.
Okay.
These differences aren't absolute. There aren't two types of brain, and men and women are more the same by personality than they are different by a substantial margin. There's more similarity than difference.
If there's more similarity than difference.
But that doesn't mean the differences are irrelevant. So let me give you an example. So if you picked two people at random out of the population and had to guess who was more aggressive, and you guessed the man, you'd be right 60% of the time. That's about the magnitude of the difference between men and women.
Well, that's 60-40. It's not that much of a margin,
right.
is it?
That's exactly right. But, and this is where things get more sophisticated. All right, so then imagine that you had to pick the 1 in 100 most aggressive person and put them in jail, which is what we do. They're all men. So even though at the midpoint, the difference between men and women isn't that extreme, at the extremes, the difference is extraordinary. And most of the activity, or much of the activity in complex situations, happens at the extremes. So men are more interested in things than women are, and women are more interested in people than men are, on average. And those differences are largest in Scandinavia, by the way. So there's no evidence that they're socioculturally constructed. And one of the consequences of that is that if you leave men and women to make free choices...
Well, let's put aside that Scandinavia is not just one country, and it has lots of different cultural, political differences within
Sure, but the point is that, and this is the fundamental point, is that the more egalitarian the country, the bigger the differences between men and women. The bigger.
I have no idea how one could possibly conclude that.
You rank order countries by their sociocultural policies, from egalitarian to non-egalitarian, and then you look at the magnitude of the differences in temperament in men and women in those countries.
Let's say that we decide that there are differences, and we can argue whether it's about the average. I mean, who is the average woman? Am I the average woman? Are you the average
in some ways probably, in other ways not.
Right. Okay. Good to know. But is it really all about their decision, or might structures not play a role here? One doesn't have to be
structures
completely
definitely
mad
play
to
a
think
role.
this, right?
No. What you have to be completely mad is to reduce the whole thing to gender and to assume that it's a consequence of oppression. There's multiple factors at play, and prejudice is one of them. The question is to what degree prejudice, or an arbitrary categorization, let's say, and the lack of provision of opportunities for women is contributing to the pay gap, and to what degree other factors are contributing. So there's other factors. Like I said already, men are much more likely to do dangerous jobs. They're also more likely to do jobs that scale. So for example, because women are more interested in people on average than men are, they tend to work in people-oriented enterprises, and those are hard to scale. And because you can't scale them, it's harder to multiply the income. Men are more likely to move than women are. Men are more likely to take on trade positions. They're more likely to work with heavy machinery. They're more likely to work outside.
Women have lacked opportunities that they've lacked. The nudge has not operated in the same way.
See, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually,
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of benefits that men don't have. Specifically, it's usually like an excuse. Like honestly, I think as a girl you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So.
Well, what do you guys think about that last statement from that lady? Do you think it's true? Do you think it's true? I mean, if you look at it in one way, she might have a point. She said that women have more opportunities than women. Life is easier when you're a woman. And there was a time we were having this argument about the woman privilege, or the fine girl privilege, something like that. That you can walk through, meetings. You can be in a meeting where, I mean, there are so many opportunities you can have as a woman, but men would have to work probably twice as hard. I mean, I've heard these conversations before, but what do you guys think about that last statement from that lady? Is life easier when you're a woman? But some women would find this conversation, this lady said as, you know, as ridiculous as possible, because some women find it difficult, especially women that are in male dominated industries. You know, they find it difficult to adjust, to even grow and all of those things, because it's a male dominated industry. But some women feel like you have more opportunities when you're a woman. I would really love you guys, I really love your responses to that conversation, because I mean, that's been trending for a while. Then going to what Jordan Peterson and the host or the interviewer we're having, I feel like Jordan Peterson is one of the best people to have this kind of conversations with. He's well grounded, he's well read, he knows what he's talking about, even though I mean his responses might not sit well with the interviewer, but I feel like he has a lot of knowledge, because he's been on the, I think there was a video we reacted to where he talked about almost the same thing, and I was wowed, like I was blown away. So is this conversation between men and women, you know, them being equal, having equal opportunities, having equal outcome, and how the society and the economy plays a role in these differences and similarities. They talked about a lot of things in this conversation today, and I feel like they are very important, because it still applies in today's world, it still applies in today's society, in 2025 women, you know, it's still very, very important. So I really love to know what your responses are to these conversations, both from Jordan Peterson and the interviewer, and the last conversation from that lady. So your responses, additions, subtractions, your questions will be entertained and should be answered in the comment section below. So please drop all your additions or whatever you have to say in the comment section, you know, below. Do well to like this video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'm sure you enjoyed it, okay? Make sure you do not skip my ads. Please subscribe if you haven't, turn on post notification bell, share with your friends, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.